Okay, let's talk battery charging. So this is something that is very important. You want to make sure that you are charging your batteries correctly and not over discharging them, because this is probably the most dangerous part of the hobby. You can actually burn down your house if you don't do this correctly. So let's go ahead and talk about first what voltages we should be aware of. So for a 3S battery, it is fully charged at 12.6 volts. And then for a 4S, it's 16.8. This is just 4.2 per cell. So for 3S, that's 4.2 times 3. For 4S, that's 4.2 times 4. When I fly, I generally fly down to about 3.7 volts per cell. And that generally gets me in a pretty good range. And then for storage, you want to store at about 3.85 or 3.8 per cell, which is roughly 11.4 for 3S or 11.5 for 3S. And then for 4S, that's going to be 15.2 to 15.4, somewhere in that range. And that's generally after I fly. I'll make sure all the batteries get to that storage voltage. And that's also because if they're all at the same cells per voltage, we can do parallel charging. But we'll talk about parallel charging later. So let's first talk about normal, just standard charging. So this is the first charger that I got. It's fairly simple. It came with some things that plug in here. And it also came with a balance port. Unfortunately, it didn't come with an XT60 lead, so you have to get that separately or make your own, like I did. So pretty simple, plugs in. It comes with a cord. The other end just plugs straight into the wall. And there we go. To charge, you plug in into the correct balance port. So for 3S, it's this one. For 4S, it'll be the bigger one. So simple plug in. You plug in the balance, and then you also plug in the XT60. Now that we've plugged in our charger, we need to get it into the right mode. So this should say LiPo. Since it's not there, we're going to hold down the type and stop button until it changes and let go. If it still doesn't say LiPo, keep doing that until it cycles all the way through and gets to LiPo. Next, we need to just press a single type stop. We'll just press a single time. And now we're going to set the amps. So we can go ahead and press the increase or decrease button to move that around. And for that, we want it to be, so this is a 1300 milliamps. So you just take that and divide it by 1000. You can go higher for faster charging, but recommended for batteries is that. So 1300 divided by 1000 is 1.3. Oops. So we're going to do single clicks on the increase button until we get to 1.3. On other chargers, you have to set whether it's a 3S or 4S battery, but this one will auto detect it, providing you plugged it in to the correct balance port. And we can go ahead and long press on start. And now it'll go and it'll cycle through the voltage, how fast it's being charged, how much it's charged, and how long it has been charging for. Now if we go ahead and press the display button or increase, we can see each of the cell voltage. So we'll see on this one it'll go the 3.8, cell 1, cell 2, cell 3, and then it'll show the total voltage. And it just repeats through that process. If we need to stop early for any reason, most likely if you're trying to get it to the storage voltage, which is it's at just about right now, the 3.8 or 3.85, you can go ahead and press the stop button to cancel it. So one really helpful tool is having a battery buzzer and cell checker. So this little thing does both. It's a buzzer when voltage gets low on any cell, and it also will check each individual cell. So to do that, you plug it in, but I'm going to cover up the buzzer because it beeps a little bit at the beginning. Okay. And so you'll notice that first one, let me hold it here. So all shows the total voltage for the battery, but then after it shows all, it goes ahead and shows the voltage of each cell. And you'll notice that the last one's on 366. So overall, this is probably, I might have 15 or 20 more seconds left of flying, but this is about generally when I would bring it in. Now, especially when you have a new quad, you don't want to rely on the timer only, or you might accidentally forget. You might also forget to reset your timer. So I like to have one of these mounted to the quad, or I guess just mounted to the battery. Generally, I just put a rubber band around that, and then when I plug in the battery, it's right there. If the voltage drops too low, it'll start beeping like crazy. So to set up the voltage that you want it to beep at, you can actually press this button up here. So if I press that, I see it's at 2.7, press it again, and it'll just keep on going up. You probably want it at probably 3.2, 3.3. If you have a timer that you're pretty confident in, this is just like, hey, something went wrong, you forgot to reset your timer, and it'll start beeping really loud. You'll hear it from across the field, knowing that you should probably just land your quad right there. If you don't have kind of a timer set up on your quad, you probably want to set this more in the 3.4, 3.5 range to let you know, hey, you should be landing now. Your voltage dropped. But just to show you what this sounds like a little bit, I'm going to set it all the way up to 3.7, and you'll notice when it gets to this third cell, yeah, now it's starting to beep, flashing that cell. So I know I should probably land. If you press that button again, it takes about, there we go, turned it off, and there you go. That's how you can check your cell. And it's also helpful to have one of these just on your bench when you're charging batteries, so you know which ones you need to bring back up to the storage voltage. One of the biggest flaws to this charger is that there isn't a storage setting. So you have to always make sure that you fly all your packs, or find a different way to discharge them when you get home. And then when you do, after you fly it, when you're putting it in storage mode, you have to actually hit the stop button when it gets to the 3.8 per cell, which is very annoying. So I upgraded to a IMAX B6 charger, and this has worked really well for me, especially since it has the storage mode. One disadvantage to it though is to plug it in, it requires a power supply. So this is just an old power supply I got at Goodwill. I guess I should take off that sticker. But what you want is just any power supply that will give 11 to 18 volts, anywhere in that range, the IMAX will take. This one gives 12, which is good, and then something around 5 amps. You probably don't want anything less than 5 amps. Like, it'll work, but you won't be able to charge as many batteries at the same time. But up to like 7 amps or 8 amps is going to be fine as well. 5 is probably the minimum that you need, though. Okay, so I have my power supply, and so this is coming from the power supply. Power supply is plugged into the wall. So let's go ahead and plug in. And if you're not at this screen, if you turn on and you're at this screen, you can just press the battery type. And the decrease will change these settings, and you want to just press decrease. You'll see I'm going all the way through until you're at LiPo bat, and then hit start. And now you have other options. So if I press increase here, I actually switch. So this is the charge. You can do this. This will be faster than balance charging, but it's not going to be as safe. So I always use balance for when I'm charging. Increase. There's fast charge. I have never used that. Storage, which is the mode that I really missed. Then there's discharge. Don't really need to do that. And we're back to charge. So this is very, very similar. The one bit here, let's go to balance. So here we go. We can press start and we can press decrease, increase for the amps. So again, for a 1300 milliamp, you want 1.3. If it's a 1400 one, you want 1.4. You can go higher if you need to charge faster, but I find I usually do it the 1. And then here, on this charge, you actually have to set the cells. So I can go 14 for 4S or 13 for 3S. You want to make sure you get that right. Usually it warns you, it's always better to be safe. And then from here, obviously I'm not plugged in, but to start the balance, you just hold down the start button until it goes to the next screen, and it will charge, and it'll let you know when it finishes. So let's go to increase to storage. So if I press start, I can't actually go above 1.0, which is one downside to the storage mode, but usually I'm just going from 3.6 or 3.7 per cell up to 3.8. So that's not a problem. And then, like, time-wise, I guess it takes a while if I didn't use that pack that day and it's discharging from 4.2 down to 3.8. That'll take a little while, but that's just put in storage. So here I press start again, and 3S, 4S, and start to confirm. So from here, we can go ahead and hold down the start, and it'll put your battery, if it was plugged in, into the correct storage. So if it has too much voltage in the battery per cell, it'll decrease all your cells to be at the 3.8. If it doesn't have enough voltage, it'll increase the cell voltage to reach 3.8. Very, very useful. The last thing that becomes very helpful is parallel charging. I generally do not use the parallel charging board right after I fly. Generally, I just use it for when I'm charging my batteries up, because after you fly, all your batteries are at different voltages. And so generally I do it one by one. I have them go to storage mode, but then when I'm ready to fly, maybe the night before, or in the morning, I want to get all my batteries charged up. And since I just put them in storage, all of the cells are at the same voltage or near the same voltage, and I can go ahead and plug them in and charge them up. Now, some important things about parallel charging is, first, the Milla 1300, 1400, you can mix and match those. That is not important to be the same. You can have a 2001 with an 800 one. All different ones is fine. That's just the size. However, the fact that this is a 3S battery, we must do it with other 3S batteries. And if I look at the cell voltage, I need to make sure that all the cells on this one, so this is 38, 379, 382, and let's say I wanted to parallel charge it with this one, so I would then check this one and make sure all the cells on this one, so cell number 1 is 377, 379, 380. So all of those are really close to 380. They were within a 0.03, I think, of each other. You don't want, if it's more than 0.1 volts difference, you probably don't want to parallel charge. So to parallel charge, you just plug in here and make sure you get if you're doing 3S, make sure you get a 3S port and then plug this one in. And all that this is doing is connecting all these XT60s together to act like one giant big battery. And then it's connecting all the cells together to act like big giant cells. Now the benefit is, instead of charging at the 1.3 like we normally do, we can actually add the two 1300 plus 1300, and that's 2600, so divide it by 1000 is 2.6. We can now charge instead, let's go back to balance. So now we can charge this at 2.6, and it'll do, essentially it'll charge both these batteries in the same amount of time it takes to charge one, and we're not damaging the battery because the voltage is going up at essentially the same speed that it was if we were just charging one. And that's where the benefit of parallel charging is really awesome. Faster charging, and I can plug in a bunch of batteries and just have them all be charging for a long period of time, and I don't need to worry about unplugging, plugging in. So parallel charging is awesome, but it's also, make sure you're doing it safe. Check your voltage beforehand. This is where the fires happen. Okay, to plug in this parallel charging board, you need an XT60 connector. Unfortunately, this charger didn't come with one, so I had to get one. So let's plug in, red to red, black to black, and then plug in the balance port on this bottom left one. Takes all different sizes. And then plug in the two XT60s connectors. And so now we have our parallel charging board connected to our charger. So to start charging, we can hold down start, and it'll check the battery. We press start or enter again to confirm. And now we'll see that we're charging 3S batteries at 2.6, which we want. And that's the total combined voltage of the two batteries. We'll see that it's in balance mode. We'll see the time that has passed, how long it's been charging for, and then that's how much it's charged the batteries. If we press increase, we'll actually switch to this screen, which has the combined voltage for cell 1, the combined voltage for cell 2, and the combined voltage of cell 3. So the charger sees those two batteries as one battery. Cell 1 of battery 1 and cell 1 of battery 2 together is what is showing right there. So if we press increase, press stop to stop it, which you shouldn't have to do very often because there is a storage mode. So only if you're leaving the house or something and need to stop charging.